From the kitchen of the cabin, it's the 5 Games for Doomsday review.
Blitzkrieg. What's the point of war games? I've talked a lot about this here. I've been gently chided and roundly rebuked for my view on them. I've raised the hackles of a very protective and vocal group of people, and I think this is great. Not that hackles have been raised, but that people have stepped forward to defend what they love. It's a really admirable trait. Sure, it would be better if passions were mobilised to tackle the upcoming environmental apocalypse or the rampant inequality in all of our societies, but baby steps are still forward momentum. I've spoken with people that are far cleverer than me, and they have patiently explained things to me in a language I can understand. It's surprisingly hard to limit your lexicon to words of 2 syllables or fewer. And, of course, there have been some bellends that have told me I shouldn't even comment on the subject, but I pay my 20 quid a month to Libsyn, so I can say what I want. It's the beauty of new media. And I've come to an answer of sorts about the point of war games. It's an answer that people won't agree with, but that's also the beauty of new media. You can call me a knobhead on Twitter, and I promise not to block you, because I'm so starved of attention at this point that an outpouring of vitriol is like a warm, loving hug to me. It's the enjoyment of games. It's an expression of preference within an art form, and you can tart it up with all sorts of intellectual justifications, but the joy that people get from the arrangement of blocks or the tweezering of chits is the same joy that people get from the conversion of carrots into points or finding out who the spy is. It is the joy of assembling the machine and having it hum under your fingers. It's the joy of failing upwards. It's the joy of throwing up your hands at the injustice of chance, and the joy of thinking that your thing's best. This is the point of war games. It's that they're games, and that games are fantastic. And Blitzkrieg, from the Plastic Soldier Company and Paolo Mori, is all of those things. I played Libertalia just as I started out in games, and I adored it. It's not hyperbolic to say that Libertalia is one of the reasons that you're listening to this today. I guffawed and barracked through Dogs of War, still the most underrated game in the hobby, and I revelled in the grace and simplicity of Ethnos. The concept of favourite is a slippery thing. Opinions change like the weather, but Paolo Mori is always up there for me, always consistent, always surprising and engaging. I'm not sure if he's my favourite designer, but he certainly isn't far from it, and with Blitzkrieg, he has done nothing to move himself from that place in my heart. In Blitzkrieg, players take on opposing sides in the Second World War and play out the entire conflict in 20 minutes. Tiles of varying unit strength are drawn blindly from a bag and are placed on various spaces on the board that have various powers and represent the various theatres of operation in the war. The spaces can help you destroy opponents' units or develop new machines. Players engage in a tug of war as the strength of their units pulls the theatre to one side or the other, as players try to climb the requisite number of spaces to win the theatre and score the points it yields. The first player to 25 points triggers the end of the game, and the player with the most points at the end wins. Blitzkrieg is a stripped-back version of Dogs of War, but that's not damning it with faint praise. As a 2-player experience, this is as good as it gets, as players smack the ball over the net to their opponents, only to chase and reel when it's launched back even harder. There is real strategy here too, and the use of bluff and counter-bluff as players place tiles is wonderful. Did they place that there because that was their intention, or are they trying to lead me a merry dance? Plans are formulated and dashed by the simple placement of one unit, and the building of strategy has to begin again. Bear in mind, all of this happens in 20 minutes, and it doesn't feel rushed. This is no arid abstract though. Special technologies can be built, and these add mechanical variation to the game and a real character to the actions, and the blind draw introduces just the right amount of chance to ensure that familiar paths aren't worn into trenches. There is no real educational value here at all, but I think that's just a smokescreen in war games anyway. Games are about mechanisms, and theme is just the candy shell that makes the vitamins easier to swallow. And with the amount of interaction and engagement in this game, the vitamins on offer will give you strong teeth and a healthy coat. Over the Essen weekend, my copy of this game was played at least 50 times by the various people that tramped through the rented apartment, and for weeks afterwards the group WhatsApp was spammed with pictures of my friends playing it. It was the undoubted hit of the convention, and is addictive as only really great designs can be. This is every inch a Paolo Mori game. It is deviously simple. It gives you so much more than its scant rules would have you believe. What is the point of war games? Like every other game, it is to experience the unique satisfaction that a game can deliver. And Blitzkrieg delivers this in spades. This review was made possible by the donations of my patrons. You can become one too by going to patreon.com/5G4D. Thank you for listening.